how do you think about project management? Do you leverage like Agile or SAM or ADDIE or Llama or any of that stuff? And or has it kind of just become muscle memory for you?
I think it's more muscle memory than anything else at this point. I mean, you can go and like look at the models and like, oh yeah, I do that. But it's not that I set out to do it. It just kind of becomes part of your process. We probably work more agile than anything else at this point, because it's so rare that you get a project that's actually ever done and then you say, oh, I can just put that on the shelf and move on. It's you live with these projects for a while, and part of the struggle is to try to find a mode of maintenance that allows, again, throwing it back to the SME to own that maintenance so that you're not just constantly reworking courses that need to be done or micro learnings that need to be done. But it is more muscle memory at this point. I think ADDIE is kind of the tried and true, and I'm a huge ADDIE supporter. I think it's a great process, and it's, even if you just kind of mentally go through it, you have your analysis, even if it's, asking a few questions or that pushback on a request. And then you have a brief design where you kind of think about how you want it to look. And you're usually thinking that during a conversation with a SME, it's like you're kind of starting to see it come together in your head. And that kind of becomes your design, even if you don't do a formal storyboard. It is a part of their thought process, even if it's not formally documented. And then, of course, you develop it, you send it out, whether it's a draft or, whatnot, and you're always going to get that feedback from either SMEs or your stakeholders or from yourself, your peers. So it does become a part of the process, even if it's not formalized.
If you can compare, I mean, we all probably have worked with ADDIE at some point, but definitely we become, I mean, it just changed to SAM and Agile. Can you compare or see, talk about the steps you would take before when you was using ADDIE, and then really compare ADDIE to Agile. What did you insert your reviews, earlier steps? How did you do that?
Sure, I think
ADDIE. I'm sorry, I just want to quickly interrupt. What is ADDIE?
Oh, so ADDIE, Eve, is the process, the model that is like the long-standing model inside of instructional design. So it's analyze, design, develop, implement, and then evaluate.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
The steps that you would follow. And the SAM is like an iterative version of that. Agile is another version, kind of, it came out of the development world. So and Llama is a lot like agile management, something or other.
I don't even know what Llama stands for.
Oh. They're all different versions of a similar thing.
I think in the past, when I first started out, and maybe going back like 2 to 3 years, when we had that more formal kickoff, you would sit down, you'd have your questionnaire that you would use before you sat down with a SME, and that would be your needs assessment. So it would be a formal document that you would either have them fill out, or you would ask them during the kickoff or during the initial meeting to gather that information. And then based on that information, we would create like a statement of work, or some sort of like project document that would kind of document out like the objectives and the resources, the scope, and the process. So you would have the process in there that, I'm going to deliver this to you. You're going to review it, provide me with feedback. I would have like email templates set up that I would use every time I send something out to a SME, just to let them know the process. Okay, I'm sending this to you. This is what you need to do. Please have this back to me by this date or whatnot. And then it was just very formal process, very documented out. I would, send that out to SME. Then we would all supposed to be signing off on it. And what ended up happening is nothing ever followed that document. It would always go way off on the timeline, or they would miss a review feedback, or they'd be like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? Or it just never ended up working out like that. So then you get all frustrated because it's, it didn't work out. And then your SME would get frustrated because they don't have their product. And even though you could say to them, well, you didn't give me your review feedback on time, and blah, blah, blah. And in theory, it would work perfectly, but in reality, it never did. So now we just go to a more agile where we just kind of meet and consult and we're on the same page and we know what the problem is that needs to be solved and we're very upfront and transparent about expectations. And I always tell them right off the bat that, because the first question they always ask you is, how long is this going to take? And well, that's up to you because I can send you something and then if you don't give me feedback for a month, obviously that's going to delay it and I don't have control over that. I think with Agile, it's just really trying to have a relationship where we're all trying to accomplish the same thing and we're all part of that process, and just being upfront and clear about expectations and how it's going to look.
I think also a key difference, Heidi, in an agile process is that sometimes you start with a prototype, right? From the conversations, you kind of, and the needs analysis, you may come out with a prototype, right? And then you continue to perfect that, right? So because it's an iterative process where you continue to build, and maybe that prototype gets scratched along the way and you go to design something else, but you kind of paint a picture, of, is this what we're thinking? And then move from there. And so it helps move the process along a lot faster because you've kind of painted the picture and they either agree or disagree, right? And then you've got more of a foundation to start the design and build than you would in ADDIE. ADDIE is more formal, but in my opinion, all of these different ones, ADDIE is the foundation because at the end of the day, they still incorporate ADDIE in different places. So Llama, we're still doing a needs analysis, Agile as well. In all of the process, all of the different theories and models, SAM, it's still got parts of ADDIE. So it's like ADDIE was the mother ship and had all these different babies afterwards, right? But they all kind of started from ADDIE. And then, ADDIE had iterations, itself, right? And so that's SAM and Llama and all the other.
I feel like ADDIE's kind of become our subconscious, it's like that, our subliminal voice in the back of our head just guiding us is ADDIE.
Yeah, I would agree, but I think we spend a lot more time in the agile world now than we do in ADDIE.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the things that I recently read in the book by Kathy Moore is that she recommends creating a prototype just of one exercise, and not the whole 5-10 exercises or questions that section, specific section of the course or training or product you're going to build. And once they agree that that's the way it's going to be, you just, after that, just send them a text, particularly a Word text, and they already know what it's going to look like. There's going to be a button here, there's going to be a button there, just with a very, very small prototype. And that saves you time instead of even spending time in that not so sophisticated version of the product. So even there, that's saving time. So I thought that was a great idea by Kathy Moore.